The Galactic Council chamber fell silent when Ravkar entered, his massive frame filling the doorway like a living shadow. The assembled delegates, sleek Valorians, crystalline Orcs, and gas-formed Nethri shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Behind the towering alien walked something that made them recoil even further, a human. Myra Hale stood barely chest-high to her companion, her worn boots clicking against the polished floor. She wore standard colony attire, nothing ceremonial, nothing that suggested she belonged in this hall of galactic power. The whispers started immediately. "The beast's pet," someone hissed in universal standard. "Careful," another delegate murmured. "You know what happened to the Crixian ambassador?" Myra heard them all, she always did. 3 years aboard Ravkar's vessel, 3 years as the sole human among the Drakethir warriors, had given her ears sharp enough to catch every insult, every sneer. She simply chose not to care. Ravkar's species had terrorized the outer colonies for generations. The Drakethir were apex predators from a death world so hostile that simply breathing its atmosphere could kill most species. They stood 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in obsidian scales, their eyes burning amber in the dim light. When the great Ravkar had descended on the human colony of Perseus VII, everyone assumed it would be another massacre. Instead, he'd found Mera in the ruins of the medical facility, still treating wounded colonists even as plasma fire rained around her. She hadn't run, hadn't begged. When Ravkar demanded to know why she stayed, she'd looked up at the creature that haunted 1,000 nightmares and said simply, "Because they need me." That moment had changed everything. Now, Ambassador Thelix of the Valorian sovereignty rose from his seat, his scales shimmering with barely concealed disgust. "Warlord Ravkar, we agreed to this meeting as a courtesy, but surely you don't expect us to negotiate with ... present?" Ravkar's rumbling voice filled the chamber, each word vibrating through the floor. "Dr. Hale stays?" "She is my advisor." Laughter rippled through the assembly. The Korix delegate's crystalline body chimed with amusement. "Your pet, you mean? Really, Ravkar, we all know the rumors. The human serves at your pleasure, nothing more, a curiosity. Entertainment for the great warrior between battles." Myra felt Ravkar tense beside her. She placed a hand on his armored forearm, a gesture that made several delegates gasp. To touch a Drakethir uninvited was suicide. Yet Ravkar stilled at her touch. "Let them talk," she said quietly in Draktorian, a language that had taken her 2 years to master. "They insult your honor," Ravkar growled. "Honor isn't given by fools? It's earned through action." She stepped forward, addressing the assembly. "You wanted this meeting to discuss the Drakethir's recent territorial movements. Shall we begin, or would you prefer to waste more time with schoolyard insults?" Ambassador Thelix's eyes narrowed. "The pet speaks boldly. Tell me, human, do you enjoy your chains? Are they at least comfortable?" "I wear no chains," Myra replied evenly. "I serve aboard Ravkar's vessel by choice. I'm chief medical officer to a crew of 200 Drakethir warriors. I've performed surgery in 0G during combat. I've synthesized antitoxins from Death World flora that would dissolve your scales in seconds. And I've done it all because I choose to be there." "Choose?" The Korix delegates' laughter crystallized into sharp notes. "Everyone knows humans are weak, fragile. You serve because you cannot resist. Because the alternative is death." Before Myra could respond, the chamber doors exploded inward. 4 young Drakethir burst through cubs, barely adolescent by their species standards, their scales still holding hints of green. The Council's security forces moved to intercept, but froze when they saw the cubs' target. The young warriors surrounded Myra, their bodies forming a protective barrier, lips curled back to expose rows of obsidian fangs. The largest cub, Crixtal, fixed his burning eyes on Ambassador Thelix. When he spoke, his voice carried a promise of violence. "Apologize to Mother Hale." Now the chamber erupted into chaos. Council guards activated weapons. Delegates fled their seats, but the cubs didn't move, didn't flinch. They simply stood, 4 pillars of coiled fury, ready to tear apart anyone who threatened the human in their midst. "Stand down!" Ravkar's command cracked like thunder. The cubs obeyed instantly, but didn't retreat. Crixtal kept his eyes locked on the Valorian ambassador. He called her a pet. He dishonored her name. Ravkar moved to stand beside Mira, placing one massive hand on Krikstal's shoulder. When he spoke, his words carried to every corner of the chamber. My people do not have a word for pet. We have warriors, we have prey, we have packmates. Dr. Halle is the first of her species to earn the title of Den Mother. She has healed us when we were broken, taught us when we were ignorant, stood beside us when all others fled. He turned to face the council, and his voice dropped to something cold and dangerous. These cubs you see? Myra saved each of them. Krikstal from vermilion plague, Shakor from radiation poisoning, Tilix from combat wounds that should have been fatal. They are alive because of her skill. They are warriors because of her teaching. The council chamber had gone deathly quiet. Myra looked at the young Draether surrounding her cubs she'd nursed through fevers, taught to read, shown kindness when their culture knew only strength. Her voice was soft but carried clearly. I am no one's pet. I am Myra Halle, and I chose to walk among monsters. I chose to see warriors where others saw beasts. And they chose to see a person where the galaxy saw weakness. She met Ambassador Thalix's eyes. You want to know about the Draether's territorial movements? They're protecting human colonies now, not raiding them, protecting them. Because I asked, because Ravkar listened. Because a beast and his pet learned something the council never could. That strength isn't about domination. It's about who you choose to protect. Krikstal growled low, a sound of satisfaction. The other cubs echoed it, a rumbling chorus that spoke of loyalty fiercer than any chain. The galaxy called her a beast's pet, but the cubs knew better. So did anyone who dared utter her name without respect. They learned quickly, or they learned the hard way. There was no third option. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.